Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very privileged to kick off this panel on technologies for Ukraine's resilience. And I would like to thank you each and every. This is a big audience which is full here today. Thanks for being here for this important conference. And also thanks for being here for Ukraine and for Switzerland. Wait a second, hiccups. So probably good way to start would be to align what is resilient economy. You can find a lot of different terminology up there. One of this is that resilient economy is a system which is designed to withstand and to recover and then to adapt to external shocks. One of that is war for Ukraine. So now think a little. From the high school, we all remember that the prime goal of economy is growth and prosperity. And resilient economy is very different. Resilient economy is foremost about resistance and recovery, and then, only then, it's a growth through adaptation. So Ukraine is under war, so it's obviously must be resilient, must build resilient economy. It's no secret that our enemy is much bigger. And in this context, Ukraine is often compared to a steel porcupine. Porcupine is a small animal, but despite its size, it's very fierce when it comes to self-defense. It's very difficult to hunt it down. And then porcupine is actually analogy which comes all the way back from the World War II. So it turns out Switzerland used to be compared to the porcupine back then, when they were threatened by the bigger enemy, Nazis. And it actually meant to be an insult, because porcupine in German is Stachelschwein. So Nazis wanted to say that Switzerland is small, insignificant, maybe inconvenient, but small. And what Switzerland did is something that becomes a very classical example how nation take insult and reclaim it as a badge of honor. So Switzerland has built, as we all know, so-called national redoubt to make itself really difficult to size. And then Switzerland survived, as we all know. Now it's coming back to Ukraine and to our realities. There are 4 pillars on which resilient economy is built upon: diversification, adaptation, social, and finances. Just to go real quick, a resilient economy must be very diverse. Not just one economy sector or two, but as more as possible, and also within the economy sectors, as many products as possible. We all see it if we discuss, for example, drones. There are many of them, they're very different. Why? This is just to make it as expensive as possible for the enemy to kill. Adaptability. Adaptability is a cornerstone. It's there for everything. It's there for resistance, for recovery, but also adaptability is the only way to grow resilient economy. It must be decentralized. It is important to build something new rather than to rebuild, which is called technological leapfrogging. And also the timing of everything must be as fast as possible. You know, logistics, decision-making, all the processes shall be fast and shall be very discreet. Social safety net. Despite hard times such as war, social aspects are very important for resilient economy. When country is at war for a very long time, people, I heard, become slightly more tolerant to disruptions, to things to all the pain that war brings. But then the society is becoming much more sensitive to fairness. So resilient economy must be fair. It also must be more efficient, like adaptable again, and also a continuity of main services shall be preserved. Finally, finances. Resilient economy is something against shock. In this case, it's against the enemy. So the finances must be redirected to so-called friendshoring, like, trading with the friends, and then double down on high return industries, make everything more optimized. AI is the one tool that optimizes everything, for example. If you look at all these 4 pillars, the common denomination is education. So if you look about this, about all these pillars, the education is the key for adaptability. This is all done by people. So my main message of this talk is that we in Switzerland shall help education in Ukraine, and we shall help people who teach and who study. Talking about people, Ukraine's people are resilient. I'm having here a very humble, faraway view on that, because I'm living and working in Switzerland, which is abundant on comfort. But I'm fortunate enough to host people from Ukraine. The last delegation that I welcomed was from Kyiv School of Economics just 3 weeks ago. And what these people say is chilling, it's also honestly fair and a little bit on the optimistic side of the things. I'll give you a couple of quotes what they say. For example, Kyiv is livable. And think about it, there are drones, sometimes every night, sometimes twice a week. But despite that, the war habits make it livable for these people. So people living in Kyiv and working in Kyiv say it's livable. How much courage? The second one, I believe Ukrainians in the audience would recognize. That's a saying we have in Ukraine. The work wouldn't do itself. Again, despite every shock that is happening, every intermittence and interaction, you shall be keeping doing up the work. And just a couple of days after this delegation went back home, their university, their mail building was attacked by drones. And next day, they still carry out the open day for future students. So the work cannot do itself. And then one more, the last attack was not too serious. Okay, that's already on the teasing side. But I think every attack is serious. But people who live thousands of attacks, they develop the comparison habit that some are more serious than the others, and then they talk about it. So you can only live through a good dose of humor. A very important rule is to keep education in Ukraine uninterrupted. On a couple of slides, I'm going to tell you what is going on, and then I hope we discuss what can be possible in the future. There is a foundation called Safe ED. So one of their mission is to repurpose underground floors and bunkers to the livable classrooms. And that's what they do. You see here on the slide before and after. On the upper row, you can recognize the stairs on the back on the both pictures. So you see that it's really the same room that's been very much abandoned, and now it's a middle-sized classroom. They do it primarily close to the front lines, but also all over the Ukraine. That's a very important mission to keep education uninterrupted. The goal here is school, also kindergarten, but the school children up until the age of 16, 17. When we go to the high school, this is only one of the problems. There are more problems. And one problem that ETH is helping with is lack of highly skilled engineers. This one is historically, for a very long time. And right now we miss engineers even more. So one initiative in that regard is that ETH helps to organize a master engineering program in Kyiv School of Economics. And this is done via so-called tandem teaching approach. And we are very mindful about doing it all, teaching locally in Kyiv, because brain drain is another big problem of Ukraine right now. There are many online and blended approaches. Thanks to COVID, we all know how to go online and do it. And I encourage each and every in the room, if you can engage in such activities for the education in Ukraine, please do it. So one more point is, which is something new, which is just happening this year. It's an opposite of the brain drain. Let's call it brain gain. So then the program which I know about, and I believe maybe there are more of this, but the one I know about coming from the school KSC, it's called Come Back Home program. There is a link, and you can also come and talk to me if you want. What they offer is a very competitive package if you want to come back and study and work in Kyiv. Then what we know about education. Good learner is a happy learner. So I think it's very important to nourish the talents, to reward best of the best students on every stage. And we've been at ETH fortunate enough to welcome winners of Ukrainian tournament in IT, which was organized by the charity foundation Start for Life Ukraine. Their lead here is in the audience, Miroslava, over there. Thank you, Miroslava. We hope to be chosen again for this year and for the years to come. Now a couple of slides about the industry. Ukraine has adopted a strategy just last year, which is called Win-Win 2030, and that's a vision for Ukraine after the war. But it also applies for what is going on already right now. If you look inside the strategy, there are 14 priority sectors, and if you look closely, you'll see that many of them are defense or double use. I mean, this is very understandable because Ukraine is at war and it will also be neighboring this country after the war. So we need to be good at all the things like defense over there, semiconductors, cybersecurity, space technology, unmanned vehicles. But also there are sectors which are civil application. And I just wanted to give you one example how this combines. People call it spillovers. For example, one application that is Ukraine developing now is demining. You know that large areas in the south of Ukraine are infested with mines. So it's simply it's just very difficult or even dangerous to harvest. So there are these demining machines which do a job, but you can relatively easily repurpose them to be the unmanned vehicles for the agriculture technology. And I think this application will then continue after the war, not just for safety, but also to mainstream the EdTech, agri-tech. Just one example, and we can discuss more. Okay, that's my last slide. So I wanted to finish up in the spirit of the conference, what Switzerland and Ukraine can learn together. So learning from Ukraine is, of course, one of the most important learning of how we develop defense technologies there, logistics under fire. Alex is going to give us a lot of good examples on resilience of digital state, and important for resilience economy, decentralization on all stages, of course, and for all economies, also including command, control, decision-making, and so on. And the final one is psychological mobility of of people, resilient people. That's an important lesson we might get directly from Ukraine right now. Learning from Switzerland, in my opinion, education is the most important. I cannot highlight it more. Research system and education system in Switzerland are prime. We also need to watch democracy, to protect democracy, which is always threatened when the country is under the war. Civil engineering mandates, I've been saying, during the World War II are also rusty, but Switzerland was the only country who really pulled it on the country scale. That's a unique example, and I believe this shall be studied and adopted from Switzerland for Ukraine, and of course, the very strong export-controlled economy. With that, I would like to give it back to Martin. So now the Swiss porcupine has found a friend, so when two is better than one.
Thank you.